From 1947 until 1952, the Hooker Chemical Company used the Love Canal section of Niagara Falls as a dumping site for toxic waste.
President Carter declared a state of emergency today in the Love Canal area of New York's Niagara Falls, where toxic chemicals were discovered oozing from the ground.
That discovery in a Niagara Falls neighborhood triggered an environmental battle that played out on national television and became one of the most iconic in U.S. history. After the federal government finally evacuated hundreds of families, new laws were introduced to prevent future love canals.
Occidental Chemical Company agreed to pay $129 million.
My 3 kids were born with birth defects. My wife's had cancer.
More than 3 decades later, what happened to residents exposed to these chemicals? And what happened to the place that came to symbolize the nightmare of toxic waste in America?
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good day. My name is Muhammad Hasanuddin bin Muhammad Kamal, and my metric number is CF190125. Do you ever know about the Love Canal tragedy? No? Okay, if you are never know about this tragedy, you need to listen to this, and I will explain what is actually happened to that place. This is a review of Love Canal tragedy. Here you are. Let's begin. I will start first with the history of this Love Canal tragedy. This tragedy can be claimed as the worst environmental disaster that involving chemical wastes in US. This Love Canal is a neighborhood in Niagara Falls, New York, United States, where there are wastes produced by Hooker Chemicals and Plastic Corporation. This tragedy was occurred in year 1950 to 1979, where this tragedy can be said as the worst disaster that ever happened in the world. On this tragedy, how can it be happen? Do you know? Do I know? This is the answer why the tragedy can be happen. As after the land sold by Hooker's Corporation, the school board promptly built a public school on site. Also, the public school sold the surrounding land for housing project that built 200 homes along the canal bed. Unfortunately, during the construction, the canal's clay cap and walls are breached and damaged some of metal barrels. So that is eventually the chemical waste seepage to the people's basement. On figure, it is a Love Canal that being mentioned. As it is said, it was a toxic disaster. What is actually the contamination type that involved in this tragedy? There you are. This is the type of the contamination that occurred in the Love Canal tragedy, which is chemical contamination. I can see that this is a concern issue as the waste that been dumped and covered up on old canal was leaking into backyards and basement of nearby homes. So, the residents they claim those chemicals had given them a gamut of health problems. By the articles, it is estimated that 2,000 tons of hazardous waste have been dumped by company, such as carcinogens benzene, dioxins, and the polychlorinated biphenyls or PCBs. Now, we go to the effects to the residents. As I said, there is a chemical contamination in this tragedy. It is confirmed there are so many effects that can be happen to the residents, but what it is? So, this is the effects that occurred due to the Love Canal tragedy. Between the year of 1974 until 1978, 56% of the children were born with birth defect, such as 3 ears and double row of teeth. As in 1979, announced by Environmental Protection Agency, the result of blood tests of the residents showed that it is high of white blood cells, a precursor to leukemia and chromosome damage. Last but not least, almost 189 residents was observed death due to cancers such as lung cancers, mouth cancers, and cervix cancer. Everything that happens in this world will always have their consequences. But for the Love Canal tragedy, what is the consequences that happen? So, this is all the consequences that need to be obligated by US government that time. The cleaning up process was done by Superfund, where it is finished in 2004. This cleaning process involved the contaminated soil removing, installation of drainage pipes as to capture the contaminated groundwater, and lastly, the Love Canal is covered with clay and plastic. Hooker Chemical paid $102 million to Superfund, this company, to clean up those sites. They also paid $2,000 million to Federal Emergency Management Disaster to relocate 1,000 families there. New York State paid $98 million to Environmental Protection Agency, and US government paid $8 million for pollution by the Army. The estimation of the cost was $275 million that have been used for this site cleaning because of this tragedy.